everyone. We should be back now. Sorry about that. I reset the internet. Hopefully things will go better. Continuing where we left off.
Every individual is different, and each person has to really take a responsibility of their person and get in touch with what really works for them, food-wise. We don't put everybody in the same basket together. You know, some people eat raw food, some people eat meat, some people don't eat meat, some, you know, that sort of thing.
It's almost like we're just making shit up as we go along.
We know that exercise and all of these things, everything that you can do for the body is so important, but it doesn't keep the body alive. It takes, I'm a great exerciser. I work out 2 times a week with a trainer.
You guys rode up and down the Hudson River today for hours.
Yeah, and we love that. But it really takes, there is a nutrient that comes from one another that stirs the person, stirs you the body electric in a way that the food doesn't do, you know, or the exercise.
This is the thing, this never like comes up expressly, but there's another thing I did want to show you with them in it today. And their cult in like the 80s feels a little like they're trying to get a bunch of people together to fuck. I know this sounds weird, I'll show it to you later, but basically this like thing where they're talking about this energy between us, I get the feeling that they try and get people to get physically very close together with them in order to share this so-called nutrient or energy or whatever they're calling it that day. Gets a little bit of a sex cult vibe, just a little bit. Artemis8192, thanks for 59 months, says, hey y'all, just got back from taking my kitty cat to the vet. She was a very good girl, and while the lump behind her ear does need to be removed, it's only because it could pop and become infected and isn't an immediate concern. Now I'm off to spend even more money buying new PC because my current one has died. Ooh, that sucks. Bad time to have to buy a PC. Hope you find a deal.
And that's what we're experiencing a lot. We're connecting with people that really give me something that I don't give myself, and it sparks me to think differently, to feel differently. It's wonderful.
Well, I think
there's an interaction that's so important with one another. Communication.
I think it's called love.
Well, that does have its place with it.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I mean, that nutrient is that loving energy of interaction, of humor, of play, of joy.
For sure.
You know.
But like you know yourself, and we use the expression all the time, love is not enough, because if you don't, you can love somebody, but if you don't actually proactively move to really be there with that person, nurture that person, there's too much love.
In other words, express.
Love can actually be exploitative many times. It's a way of, you love somebody, and people a lot of times will love another individual. They'll say they love them, but it's almost like it's a addictive behavior rather than a real feeling for that person. So we're talking about a deathless love, and we speak of these things because we talk about all the time of taking the death out of everything, taking the death out of money, taking the death out of love, taking the death out of relationships, coming from an immortal place. This is what I mean. You got to change the...
I don't even know what they mean. It sounds like they're basically just saying, delusionally believe you are immortal in every aspect of your life, and then it will be. It's like they're trying to manifest immortality.
Environment and the human environment to really live and to feel your body, feel the electricity flowing through your body in a whole new way. There's got to be a whole different way of being, a whole different paradigm. Sure. That's why we're here in New York, to find more people who want to live this way. And we're finding people all over that are excited about living. Some aren't at all. We'll get responses like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live forever. The world's terrible. Well, of course, there's terrible things in the world right now, but that's no excuse to die. I mean, we can make it better.
That's more of an excuse to live more
fervently.
Exactly.
You know?
Benigagami with 40 bits says, I will not harsh anyone's buzz by listing the reasons I'm glad I'm mortal. I will, except Hannah is right that it's depression talking. I spent too many streams trying to help Hannah feel better about herself to drag her down. I will say this, if immortality looks like these people, no, definitely not.
Step up to the plate and do things.
Right.
I want to come back a little bit because there are many ways in which we're talking about immortality and creating an environment, and there are many levels to it. One is the biochemical level. I asked about food, and I see that only as one nutrient. You mentioned another nutrient, which I called love, and you said there isn't enough. Or it's not enough. Okay, fine. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Well, what I meant by that,
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
But to finish this idea, I wanted to just say that in support of what you're saying is the Institute for Aging did a study on cellular life many years ago, and they found over 20 years ago that a cell that's continually hydrated lives on and on. There is no
Yeah.
reason
That's
for
it.
a cell to
Do you think you're a single cell?
die
right.
when properly nourished.
That's right.
Right.
In this case,
Your body needs, like, your cells need to die at some point, though. You can't just have the same cells all the time. You need to repair yourself, otherwise they will just sustain damage from day-to-day use. Your cells need to replenish themselves, and part of that process is apoptosis, where the old cell dies. You can't just have the same cells forever. You would become a zombie-looking thing because you'd be all torn up and your body wouldn't be healing.
by water, and water is much more of a nourishment than
Just live in a tub your whole life, you'll be immortal, I guess.
a solvent. It's not just a liquid. It's got food in it.
That's right.
So when a cell is properly hydrated, it lives forever. So if we're just a colony of cells, we therefore can, from a scientific point of view, live forever.
I don't think any scientist would back you up on that.
There is a give and a take and an exchange here, because there are things that we have to do is look at nature, and we see the passage of the seasons, and we see a leaf
Right.
bud in the spring and live its life, and then in the autumn fall. So what do you say about that?
Well, I
natural
say we're not nature.
We absolutely, human beings are a part of nature. We are animals. We are animals like every other animal, and most animals die. Every animal dies on a long enough time scale, even immortal jellyfish. Everything dies. We are not some separate thing from nature.
We are. Yes, that's right.
What the hell are we?
I'm not. No, I'm not a tree.
Right.
You know, I love trees. I'm not a fish in the sea.
Right.
I love them.
Okay, what about our closest relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos? They certainly die, and they're basically us by DNA. So what would you say to that? Or even previous hominids that have existed? You know? They died. They're all dead. Zytam with 40 bits says, Hannah, I think you'll get a kick out of this. I'm playing a rigger in a Shadowrun game, an orc named Jack. He has 3 lifelike raven drones, just so I can call them an attempted murder. Heh. And he uses these as evidence that birds and most non-magical animals aren't real. His goal is to figure out how to connect the corpse charging ports on the top of all street lights. He just can't figure out the right adapter.
Enjoy, you know, the beauty of it all. But I'm a species that has the ability to conceptualize, to rationalize.
Green guy with the $3 tip says, I love to eat that nature.
To the human being has the ability to think and to move unlike any other species on Earth. This gives us the ability to make changes, to make quantum leaps when we give ourselves to that. Now, the human being also has a strong resistance to change. So there has to be many times a crisis in that person's life for them to make any kind of change at all. But that's why we're speaking physical mortality, because it is a quantum leap out of an old world. It touches the nervous system. Just like some people might be watching it right now and it'll touch their nervous system. Maybe they'll go, oh my God, that's crazy. Or some people go, whoa, I felt that all my life. Yeah. So it touches the nervous system. And that's what has to be touched for there to be a really, really change. But the human being is different than any life form on Earth. Because we have the intelligence.
Because of the intelligence you're saying,
yes,
we embody beyond the other aspects and beings, sentient beings of nature.
That's right.
We have that capacity to go, okay.
Exactly.
Right.
We don't need any evidence for that. As long as you say it, that's good enough for Vestman.
I agree with you.
Thank you. Well, the fact is, I think all of life really is groaning for the coming forth of us and who we really are to be on this planet. Because unless we do end death on our own bodies and abuse to our own persons, we're not going to end the abuse to the environment that we do. Because we're just people passing through, and when you're passing through, you don't have an investment in the environment. That's the consciousness, like going to a hotel room. You don't really clean it up because you're just passing through. Well, we're here to stay. We have an investment.
I think that's a dick move. You should clean the hotel room a little. I know there's cleaning people, but don't leave it a mess. That just conspiracy theorist tells on themselves on the bingo card, I guess, for saying he doesn't clean up his hotel rooms.
But that's a different
I do
story.
too.
Yes.
I'm that way
yes.
as well.
Yes. But yes, you're that way, and I bet you're that way to a great extent. But if we really catch things and really go when you're here all the way, totally invested, and that's when I was speaking about love. When you're totally invested in a person and you're moving all the way, it goes beyond love. It is into a cellular nourishment of each other. And this is what we're speaking of here: a cellular life, a whole different species coming forth.
Sure. No,
So out of the ashes is coming a whole new species.
It's very interesting.
And I get excited, I know.
Hallelujah. Get excited.
Thank you.
If you didn't, I'd get depressed. You know, talking about creating an environment, you two, it seems to me that the internal mental and psychological emotional environment is one of the most critical ones that needs to be shifted and upgraded. And what that means in this context is that death, what if we just say death is a belief system? That to the extent that we believe
What
that
if we just said, cancer is a ham sandwich? What if we just reframed everything to be nonsense to make ourselves feel better?
it is
That's gone really well, society-wide, just believing things because they make us feel better. We're doing great.
a natural and inevitable expression of life, to that extent, we will fulfill it. Because what we understand about the way the human mind
I wish this guy would ask about their third partner that died.
operates is it follows that path. But you free yourself up of the belief of dying, and you replace it with a belief in always living. That's what you will get as a result.
Exactly. I find that working in my person. Yeah, it's definitely true.
Now, you know what? Along the same line, to even challenge the belief in survival. I mean, I spend actually a fair amount of time looking at these things and thinking about them because I think they're really interesting. Because when we move from the reptilian brain into the prefrontal lobe, where we have
That does not count for reptilians, because he's not talking about the alien reptilians.
experiences of love, of brotherhood, of unity, of all the virtues that
We want answers about the third. Why wasn't he immortal? He was until he wasn't.
are spoken of in the great wisdom traditions, we get an entirely different fulfillment of human potential there. It's just another part of our nervous system that's getting activated. That is
Is it science if we show a diagram of the nervous system?
otherwise dormant. And that includes things like breath air.
No, they're actually not Christians. They're kind of they're into secular immortality. Oh, calling it secular is maybe they're using magical thinking. Maybe new age mixed with a little bit of science, but only the aesthetic of science would probably be a way to put it. So no, they're not Christian.
Arianism, really, of challenging the whole idea of
I do not know the year this was made.
the survival mode, and that we need
To me, it looks somewhere between the mid-90s to the late 90s, now that I'm looking at it with their outfits. That's a guess, though. It looks pre-9/11, but I could be wrong.
need food or even water. I mean, it goes really far out that all the things that we think we need, what if we were just to think of them as a belief system? Anyway, I'm just opening up the door since you opened up physical mentality. I'm bringing everything else with it.
That's great.
Right.
I think everything else comes with it. When you're alive, that's the great thing about it. You know, you don't have to. It's so exciting because some people have said, "Wow, living forever, that'd be boring." Well, they're seeing,
I don't think so.
Well, exactly. Well, they're seeing it out of their death-oriented eyes still, a boring life they've got. So when you really wake up, though, to a new life, I mean, there's something more exciting every day. First of all, we're universes within ourselves. I mean, there's constant exploration of each other now going on. Right here in this room, we're exploring the cells and atoms of each other's bodies. And so
Are you? I think you're just having a conversation.
that's endless. So when we speak of food and we speak of, breathing, all those things.
The guy in the vest is what's throwing me off on the date, because like the guy on the far left in the vest looks very early 90s, but the other two don't look as early 90s. They look more mid to late.
They're all,
So it's throwing me off. It could be 1993, it could be 1999, and I can't tell.
great. We don't put down, though, any dogma as far as anybody the way to eat or anything because we feel that dogma will kill you in itself. What we say is everybody get in touch with what really works for you. And most of all, focus on being physically immortal. Focus on the powerful divine body you are meant to be, that you are. The physical, immortal, cells that are already in your body that are ready to come alive, and begin to move and ignite those. And this is what we're, like I say, doing here in New York. We're speaking to people. We're not bringing immortality to anybody. We are physically immortal. We're moving to ignite that physical mortality in other bodies that's already there in them.
That's right.
I hear you.
That's great. That's great.
Bernie,
I don't
weigh in.
have anything to add to that. That's great.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
We got a lot to add.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure you do. You guys have been at this for a long time, and it's beautiful. I look at things kind of phenomenologically. And what that means is that whether it's true that we are physically immortal or not, to me, it's really interesting, and I personally believe it. But from a practical point of view, as a Taurus, what matters is that if people think it, so it will be, number one. And number
What? This is not how life works. If I think to myself, I want $1 million every day for my entire life, it will have no bearing on if I get $1 million or not unless I do something about it. You can't make yourself physically immortal. Thinking it has no bearing on your senescence. It's just your thoughts. Like, I understand the power of positive thinking and, like, you need to be able to motivate yourself in order to get things done, but this isn't something you can do. It's not something you can will into existence. Reality does not warp to your pleasures.
two, as we think it and hold that to be true, so our lives are so deeply enriched. And that's what I feel in my reading your book and listening to your DVD and being with you. I get the sense that
Ooh, DVD! That gives us a sense of the year.
that's your most important wish for humanity, that they step up to the plate and really kind of grab life, seize the day, just really
DVD wasn't created until 1995, and it didn't become more standardized until later, obviously, so it has to be at least 1995 or later.
come alive in the physical body, exalt the human body,
I'll count that for Hannah Mentions Blu-rays on the bingo card.
sacralize it, allow it to be as high and divine as any other notion on the planet. There's nothing less, in other words, of the material level of reality than what we call the spiritual. I think that's really important. And I think that that's what, now, I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but I feel that what I feel called to do is take a bigger bite out of life when I listen to the two of you.
yeah, that's great.
You know, I say, my God, these guys are really calling us out to just take responsibility for our lives. Take responsibility.
Benigami says, so they had a national governor dinner at the White House, and guess who the only one Trump disinvited from the dinner was? My governor, Wes Moore, the currently only black governor in the country. But sure, Trump, you're the least racist president in history. In other news, I hope MD passes the non-compliance law because we currently have sheriffs saying cooperation with ICE reduces ICE's presence and keeps Maryland safe. Non-compliance just increases their presence.
Responsibility for our planet, which is our home. So clean it up. Don't make a mess.
That's right.
Live as though you will be here forever.
That's right.
Why not? What is that going to cost us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's one of the
It's gonna fuck up your priorities because you're gonna think you have forever to do things when you don't. You have no idea when you're gonna die.
greatest things about
Does that all make sense to you?
It
in your
definitely,
worldview?
definitely.
Sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I think that's one of the greatest things about being physically immortal is that we have more of a feeling. We have a feeling to clean up the mess, to really make this our environment worth the living. You know, I don't want to live in that which is abuse. I'm not doing it. You know, but people just take for granted more or less. This is the way life is. And I'm saying we can change the way life is. But we have to have a real devotion and a real dedication and a feeling to do that. Because if we're not going to be around here long, most human beings just don't put that much into living.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, the other missing part of this too is that it's.
I like that she basically insulted everyone and said we don't know how to live.
And it's very important to feel the divine
Stupid dying people, you don't even know how to live good.
body you are, and each of us are. But we need to feel also the divine bodies that are around us that really want to live, to have that connection, because too often we've been these lone identities and not really united. There needs to be a uniting of people who really want to live, who want to create a deathless world.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I didn't say this. We're doing Tinfoil Monday today because I work tomorrow, so we won't be able to do Tinfoil Tuesday. So this is like our Tinfoil stream of the week, at least the main one.
Too scattered. We're too, death is united. Death is organized. It's an organized
She looks like she's on stimulants. Can't die if you're high as balls.
system.
That's totally right.
And it has
it's
been
ritualized.
Yes, ritualized,
ceremonialized. It's
and
funded.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people, great people, who really feel living and feel physically mortal, but they're off on their lone identity trips, their truth paths. And this is what I'm saying. Let's quit making an altar to truth. Let's build a body. Let's build a body that will not die on this earth. I mean, then the truth is going to live on and on and on because you're alive. But if you die, there's no truth. There's no puzzle to figure out. There's no equation anymore. There's no television to watch. There's no books to read because you're dead. Now, I know this is controversial to a lot of immortals, maybe, maybe not, but we're talking about this physical body living forever, not spiritual immortality where I die and the spirit goes on. So I let this body die, there is no enjoyment of life. So it's a serious thing.
There's no non-enjoyment, though, either. You just aren't anymore. It's not like you're sitting in a black void experiencing nothing. You aren't experiencing. You aren't. You just don't exist.
We start uniting here in this world and really, because I feel in that unison, we are a power that can swallow up death. I think we're getting some signals.
I'm weighing what you're saying.
Oh, God. This guy's kind of obnoxious. Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 Tier 1 subs.
Enjoying it.
Yeah.
Fennikagami says, I love how pro-ice people are currently trying to sell compliance with ice by saying, are you scared of ice? Just give them what they want. The bully won't steal your lunch money if you just give it back. Great job making it sound like ice isn't a terrorist organization. You just shouldn't listen to those people. They're fucking idiots.
And I want to throw in also, I have.
Yeah, that's right.
I would just say that I don't think our experience ends just because we don't have a physical body.
Okay.
And this is maybe a point of departure.
Well, I hope we have 10 more minutes here.
Yeah. Well, we have many lifetimes. Oh, no, wait a minute. This lifetime for a long time.
There you go. There you go.
I believe that we come and go, on one hand, if we choose to, when we become conscious enough to be able to make the choice. So, physical immortality, from my view, is born out of, no pun intended, consciousness.
Yeah.
And if we have the consciousness to break the cycle of death by abandoning, letting go of, releasing the belief system, then we are free to stay alive in this physical form, or if we want to change it, we change it. I mean, there are shapeshifters all over the planet that have been with us for millennia.
That came out of nowhere.
Can turn into a bird and can turn into a snake and who can turn into an eagle and then come back into a human form. Great.
Even the Immortalist guy looks like, what the fuck are you talking about?
See, I have no judgment.
Neither of both of them are like, oh, this guy's crazier than us. Holy shit, that doesn't happen often.
About death, what we call death either, except myself. But
Death can't catch me if I turn into a bird and fly away.
I don't think it's inevitable. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't believe it's going to happen to me. And even the word deathless, I just want to say to you, brings up the idea of death. So in your presenting this to other people, I would think that you would want to use phrases like life full. Or fully vital.
Yeah,
if
I understand
you
what you're saying.
Okay, because you're accessing the idea of death
simply
simply by using the word of it, and that's not your trajectory.
Okay, this was brought up Friday night, too, when we were meeting, when you were there.
Yeah.
See, we believe in facing everything, avoiding nothing. Just because you don't say death is not going to...
They're definitely not trying to avoid anything. Like their own inevitable deaths.
It happened. Right. So we're come from a very gut level place. And also, I think it's important to say, in all due respect, Mitchell here, that this idea of
Oh, Hype Train. If you want to help the Hype Train, which I'd appreciate, I'm a little behind for the month because I took those days off. You can always use bits or gift subs or subscribe yourself.
taking another body, that you're choosing to take another body, another form, has been going on for thousands of years. It's really got us nowhere as a human race. Okay.
That's right.
I understand.
So what we're saying, whether that's true or not, or whether even that was it was real or not, because there's so many stories people make up too about this or that to support their spiritual beliefs, and all we're saying is that it's time that we really own our bodies all the way, and not create some type of glorified death still.
You don't own your body. You're renting it from the universe. It's gonna go back eventually. M. Scheffler, thanks for 100 bits. 82% level 3 on the Hype Train.
That, and that's what that is to me, the afterlives, the going and saying you're taking another body and so forth. It's just another way of dying. We're talking about your physical body. I want to be with Mitchell for 1,000 years. I want to be with Bernadine 10,000 years from now. We change it all the time, but we learn, then we'll have that ability to feel and love and have an experience with each other that's deeper than whatever we could imagine without dying. This is what we're talking about.
Because we're
Totally.
We're closing.
No, I
I'm
understand.
trying to get this in within.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because we're closing all exits to death.
I understand.
All exits. And
You
that
know.
means afterlife, spiritual life, reincarnation, all of the things you can name. We're absolutely.
We're in the room.
Here.
we're facing each other.
We're here,
Right.
and we're taking the responsibility to do what you said that you can consciously choose to do.
Is it bad that I want them to end up in a no exit or in camera situation?
Either one. Well,
I think they deserve each other.
think it's really smart to choose who
Life.
we are right.
Fenekagami with 40 bits says, to your point earlier, multiple stories about immortality bring up the fact that immortality would just become a war with boredom, and that the whole reason humans accomplish things at the rate they do is because of how short our lives are. We don't have time to consider risks, so we just go fuck it and do it. Free Ren is literally about this, an immortal elf learning to enjoy life by hanging out with humans. Oh, neat.
Right now. I'm not sure about all of these others anyway. I'm not sure about all of these other lives. But I am sure about this.
Yeah, right,
I'm here and I know that's for sure. So
I appreciate that.
And how do we know that really that because we want to live so bad and death is so horrible really, and really right back into the DNA, human beings have wanted to live. I mean, they've searched for the fountain of youth, everything
Fountain
else.
of youth,
yes.
exactly.
And how do we know that these stories of afterlives, heavens, and everything else aren't just stories to make death more palatable? Because it's so horrible. We don't like to lose loved ones and don't like to face it ourselves.
I think it is. That's my opinion, but that doesn't mean you can live forever as an alternative.
We'll make up stories that where there's an afterlife and everything to make it more acceptable.
Sure.
Okay. So that's what. So we're
I
saying whether
understand.
that's true or not. We're saying that hey,
Oh, that's not good, Nearest Crowhill.
we know we've got this body here. Let's go for it all the way, and I feel we can do it. There's
we've
an
got
unlimited.
nothing to lose.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose but death.
We agree on that
There's an
part.
unlimited life to live.
Exactly.
So we got you here forever now.
Totally.
All right, there we
I'm
go.
here,
There we
man.
go.
I'm
In this
here.
body. In this body.
Sign me up, I love this body. I'm having a ball.
I love it too.
I think bodies are
All right.
underrated. I've always said that.
I think your camera woman loves it too.
Definitely.
There we go.
In closing, I just want to quote the immortal words of
Yeah.
one of my great mentors, Woody Allen, who said,
Oh, no!
I want immortality, not through my art, but by not dying.
Yes,
Exactly, I
Yes.
love
And I like.
that.
I want to say my favorite guru said. I asked him, how do you not die? He says, refrain from dying.
There we go. I love it. On that note, Jim, Bernadine, thanks so much for being
Okay,
on the
thanks
show.
a lot.
Minute left on the Hype Train.
It was really
We
great
enjoyed it a
having you.
lot.
So glad.
Thank you.
This is Mitchell J. Rabin from Better World. Thanks so much for joining us, and keep living. Look forward to
Jesus. Oh, there's no date. Oh, 2008! This was 2008! That's so much later than I expected! Jesus Christ! Here's a much earlier thing with them in it. This also includes, stuff about... This is only about 14 minutes long. This also includes stuff about cryogenic freezing. Cryogenic freezing is a big scam. Don't ever let a friend or family member pay for cryogenic freezing. It's not doing anything except destroying your cells. Don't waste money on this.
I know just how much time I've got left, and it's an eye blink,
These are people working at a cryogenics place.
and it's not enough. It's
Mike
everybody else.
Darwin and Carlos Mondragon of the Alcor Life Extension Foundation
You bet.
Two men who are prepared to carry the pursuit of youth
Thanks for
even
the hype train, everyone.
beyond the grave.
If I asked everyone out there, are you afraid of going blind? Most people would say, well, yes, that would be a terrifying prospect. And if I said, are you afraid of going deaf? They'd say, absolutely.
About, I think, the governor thing, Just a Peach says it was the daughter of the Michigan rep candidate. She was killed by her husband at 22. Jesus.
If I said, are you afraid of losing your mind? They'd say, absolutely. And if I said, are you afraid of being paralyzed? They'd say, absolutely. Death is all of those things. It's very undesirable. Definitely not a state I want to have anything to do with.
You're not blind when you're dead, though. You're not experiencing it. It's not the same thing.
I want to go on living. I've got a lot to accomplish, and death does not figure in my equation for my future at all if there's any way out of it, and that's why.
It definitely helps that he's the one getting money if you decide to procure his services.
I'm fighting it.
In this laboratory, human heads are prepared for freezing in the belief that one day the whole person can be brought back to life with a freshly cloned body.
Every cell of our bodies, except for our red blood cells, have all the genetic information necessary to make a reasonable copy of ourselves. So
Oh, yeah, this is when they started doing just the heads. When the cryogenics thing started, they were freezing the whole body. But as the storage and, like, cost of that went up, because you gotta spend a lot of money keeping a whole body frozen, they started offering just head freezing. This is where the bit from Futurama comes from, where there's just heads in jars. That's a joke based on the fact that these cryogenic scammer companies started cutting off people's heads and just freezing them. It's terrible. It's really terrible. It's terrible that they take people's money and just have all these goddamn frozen heads around.
if we...
With, like, the promise that someday they'll clone you a new body. Like, they're literally selling you science fiction. Believe sci-fi tech exists on the bingo card.
We develop genetic engineering to the point where we can manipulate that information in the processes of human growth. We could conceivably grow a new and healthy body, much like the one the person had before, right around the existing brain.
So you freeze the dead head to preserve the brain in the hopes that one day the whole body can be restored, but at what age?
Probably grown to adult size, and unlike the one they left behind, young, healthy, vigorous, and ready for another go.
Hundreds of people all over the world have signed on for this process, known as cryonic suspension.
A clone wouldn't even be you, just a very late twin, besides not being possible at all, of course. Well, they're not saying that you would be the twin. They're saying they would clone you a body, and then you would be transferred to the new body via sci-fi magic.
In the backwoods of Florida...
Is this where the Disney frozen head rumor comes from? Cryogenics in general, yeah.
One of them prepares for his eventual reunion with the wife he loved.
This front room was Terry's room. I do not care to make any changes in it. I intend to keep the house in trust so that when the day comes when Terry and I are reanimated, why, we can immediately return home. This organ was Terry's, and if I have one hope, it is that someday I will be able to sit down and again hear her playing. There is a certain feeling of sacredness about this house because we built it together, and we have never, ever thought of ever moving away or making any change whatsoever in it. And that is why I have no intention of selling it. I hope someday to come back here, and I would like to come back before she does so I can dust the furniture a bit.
Joe, what are the odds that this will ever happen?
Well, it is a gambler's gamble. If you like life, you can't take it with you, as they say, and what better way to gamble on? At best, you're going to be revived. At worst, you're only going to be dead.
Joe, what is all this around your bed?
This notice contains instructions to the emergency medical people telling them what to do if I am found dead or near death. The 2 bottles below are to replace the blood. This machine is an apnea monitor.
Yeah, you gotta do that right away to try and stop the decomposition immediately. This actually got Alcor, the company that those 2 frozen head doctors work at. I believe they got in trouble because there were allegations that the mother of one of the, I believe, owners of Alcor may have been injected before she died with the preservative. I don't know if that was ever proven. However, there were court hearings about this, and there was going to be, they were gonna unfreeze her body in order to test further if that had happened. But the court decided that it would be irreversible to unfreeze her, and her wishes were to be frozen, so they decided not to unfreeze her. So I don't think there was ever a conclusive answer on that. Trey says there's a lot of evidence for it. Trey might know more than me on that.
Monitor. It will signal by telephone to a monitoring station in Massachusetts. This is the belt of the apnea monitor, which I put around me when I go to sleep, so that it will signal if I have a cardiac arrest. This is very important because the freezing process must begin as soon as possible in order to minimize brain damage.
So what do you want to happen when the signal goes out that you're near to death?
I hope that Alcor's technicians will be present when I am declared dead, as they were when my wife was declared dead. They then can immediately take over, put a heart-lung machine in operation, start icing me.
I should also point out that for cryogenic institutes and stuff, there have also been ones where it, like, there's at least one that I'm aware of that was like a even bigger scam, and like the bodies all thawed, and there was just like a building full of thawed out dead bodies. Not good. No bueno. Fenakagami says, let's assume you could make humans immortal by, like, copying the genetic immortality of other organisms. There's no reason to assume that you would still be human. Do you know the only vertebrate animal with a different number of vertebrae than us? Sloths. Something about our vertebrae genes require a drastic shift in metabolism to have a different number. Imagine what immortality would do, plus the whole philosophical discussion of what even is a human. I don't even consider that. It's such a sci-fi thing. I don't even feel the need to philosophically grapple with that because it's just not gonna happen in my lifetime, so I don't care.
To cool the body temperature and take me to a mortuary or wherever they have arrangements made to continue the processing, just as they did with my wife.
Riverside Industrial Park, California, home of the Alcor Life Extension Foundation. July 13th, Terry Cannon's birthday. It is Joe's first visit here. The cost of the journey had previously kept him away.
So these are the vaults. We got them just after Terry's suspension. Hugh, if you would, go ahead.
The flasks in this chamber contain whole bodies as well as heads, frozen in liquid nitrogen. The cost, $120,000 for whole body suspension, $41,000 if, like Joe, you choose only to preserve the head.
Less than half, which I guess makes sense. It's less than half of your body.
You can go on up now. Watch your step.
Mike, only Terry Cannon's head remains, and we know that every cell has been disrupted by freezing. What are the chances that Terry Cannon will ever be restored to life again?
I think the technical probability, personally, is about 50-50. The other
50-50. It'll either happen or it won't. That feels like the math he's doing in his head.
half is a much less certain thing. And I put the probability of us having a stable world environment to allow us to get to the point where we can rescue her at much lower. And if you ask me personally, I'd put it at less than 10%.
Isn't Joe Cannon paying a very high price for those low odds?
For those of us as cryonicists, we've made our decision. We believe that life is the most important thing in the world. Our lives and the lives of the people that we love and care about. And no price is too high to pay, and no odds are too small to take.
Especially because that price goes in my pocket. No price is too high to pay.
Scottsdale, Arizona, headquarters of the Eternal Flame Foundation.
This is the people we were just watching a little bit ago. This is her when she was younger. This is before 2008,
He achieved eternal life.
People eternal in the flesh. We realize how strong the intelligence and the programming of death is on this planet. And so we're out to find other people who will join in with us and turn that tide of death. We're out to give people another choice, that they can be totally alive.
Where are they now? They're still doing this. They're still doing this to a much older crowd.
We can have heaven here on earth.
After this, I can show you. I'm not going to watch a whole other video of these guys, I don't think, at least not now, but I will show you guys a video of them from more recent so you can see what they look like now.
Charles, Bernardine, and Jim, leaders of Flame, like to be thought of
Yeah,
as
this is when there were still 3 of them.
Trinity,
Before one of them died.
known to their followers as CBJ.
So I'm facing a group of people in this room who are immortal.
Yes,
That's right.
absolutely. That's right.
We are now bringing about a cellular agreement of deathlessness, that we don't have to age and be subject to death. Charles Brown. Are the people upon whom the ends of the age of sickness, disease, age.
Tinfoil spotlight or edited video on these people. There's already been a really comprehensive video on these people made by a channel called Atrocity Guide, which is really good if you haven't checked out Atrocity Guide, so I wouldn't want to tread that. But maybe a tinfoil spotlight sometime.
Aging and death.
Because they're still doing this, so there's like a, you know, there's a decent amount of content.
Or poverty, all of that is ending because of our appearance.
Isn't it incredible how much it just sounds like prosperity gospel? He's delivering it in almost exactly the same way. He looks very similar with the suit and pocket square. It's basically just secular prosperity gospel for new age hippies who don't want to die.
Believe it or not, within this outlandish message, there's a germ of distorted truth. Deep in an Arkansas pine.
And that's the last. This was a whole documentary about like people looking to live forever, but the rest of it wasn't cults. It was actual scientific research on longevity. So we can move on now. Do we want to hear from this guy? This guy's a NESARA guy. Do you guys remember when we watched that documentary Waiting for NESARA? Which was great. I rewatched it recently, which is why I wanted to cover some NESARA stuff today. The long and short of it, if you don't remember, is it's a conspiracy theory where they believe, usually they believe in the year 2000, they believe passed an act called the NESARA Act, which they believe fundamentally should have changed the financial system. They think that this bill abolished the IRS and income taxes, reset everyone's debt to zero, pays off everyone's mortgage, a bunch of, like, quite out there, anti-capitalist ideas, ironically, even though a lot of the people that believe it now are MAGA people. But the idea is that they think this is this big bill that will save them from financial ruin or whatever, and any day now it's going to come out. They think it got blocked in 2001 because they said they were gonna announce this on September 11th, 2001, and then you can guess what they say happened then to stop it from getting released. And to this day, they still believe that there are white hats and black hats similar to QAnon fighting over the release and whatever, the disclosure of NESARA. So I guess this guy believes in it. We'll hear what he has to say. But first, Profane Priestess says, "This is actually so sad to us. You're going to die. You'll get 100 years at best, and basically the best you can do is make the most of it. There are people who are so completely paralyzed by their fear of death that they ruin their lives, like that one billionaire who takes dozens of vitamins a day, is constantly poked and prodded by doctors, eats the same 3 meals every day, refuses to have sex because it thinks it ages him. His name is Brian Johnson, we think. Wasn't he getting transfusions of his son's blood, too?" Ugh. Rich people are creepy weirdos.
Okay, greetings, Patriots, Starseeds, Lightworkers, and of course our very brave military. Welcome to 1776 United, and we are in a worldwide and galactic revolution. I'm Alex West, and today is October the 5th. So, I'm going to read out, I did do a video on the 12 steps, on the protocols of NESARA when I was in the Philippines, and you can just go into.
NESARA is NESARA, but for the whole world. The conspiracy broke out of America, and a bunch of people in other countries started believing it. So NESARA stands for, like, the National Emergency something, and GESARA stands for Global Emergency something. Even though the United States Congress has no power over other nations, the conspiracy theorists think they do, I guess.
To DuckDuckGo and type in NESARA, GESARA protocols and go down those lists there, and you will see that I did one a while back in the Philippines. Now, I'm going to read this out about NESARA and the GCR and, of course, the QFS. And whoa.
QFS stands for Quantum Financial System. What is that? It's a financial system, but it's sci-fi because it has the word quantum.
Okay, so let's go. A central tenet involves abolishing income tax and the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, replaced by a national sales tax, often cited as a 14% or 17% flat tax.
A flat tax is terrible for working class people because it's a consumption tax, and for poor people and working class people, more of their income by percentage goes to consumption, paying rent, buying groceries, buying clothes. Rich people are able to hoard wealth and therefore don't have to spend it, so they would be taxed less. I don't know if this guy understands this, probably not, but a flat tax is a boon for the ultra-wealthy and a huge detriment to everyday people. So if you ever hear anyone advocating for a flat tax, tell them they're stupid.
For non-essential goods, okay? So that's new stuff only. Another claim, okay, in this forgiveness of all credit cards, mortgages, and other bank debt, often called Jubilee, due to the alleged illegal banking practice. They say alleged. Beyond financial reforms, okay? Now, this restores the restoration, or I'm going to say number one, the restoration of the constitutional law in all courts and legal matters.
Jubilee like the Bible? Yes, I think somewhere in the Bible it says you're supposed to forgive debts every 7 years or something like that. I don't remember the exact part that it's from, but I think that's called Jubilee.
New presidential and congressional elections within a short period of such as 120 days following NESARA announcement. A return to the precious metal-backed currencies, gold, silver.
Oh, they're all gold bugs, too.
Platinum. Ending perceived bankruptcies of the United States. Release of over 6,000 suppressed technologies, such as the free energy devices and healing technologies.
Med beds, perhaps?
Reportedly withheld from the public. The global expansion to GESARA. The concept of NESARA involves from the U.S. Centric focus to the global one, leading to GESARA, or the Global Economic Security Reform Act.
There you go.
This expansion occurred in the mid-2010, 2011 years, with extending the purported reforms worldwide.
Do I think he's in a truck or a trailer? Yeah, it definitely looks like he's in a truck or an RV or something. Might look a little bit more like an RV to me.
GESARA broadens claims of debt forgiveness, wealth redistribution, and protocol.
He's oozing with charisma. How dare you? He calls himself Big Daddy. Obviously, he must have charisma. Otherwise, how embarrassing would it be for him to call himself that?
And political reform to encompass all 209 nations. A component often associated with GESARA is an idea of the global currency reset, or quantum financial system.
Dillis Filler says redistribution, that's socialism. That's the fun thing about certain right-wing conspiracy theories. And to be clear, NESARA did not necessarily start as a right-wing conspiracy theory. Over the years, like a lot of conspiracies, it's been sucked more into the rightward political persuasion, sort of because of the nature of conspiracy theories in politics right now. But it's funny, a lot of, like, right-wing conspiracy theories accidentally loop back around to advocating for, like, socialist ideas. They just don't call it socialist and don't consider it that, so it's fine. It's fine when they want it, and it isn't called socialism.
This system is envisioned as a incorruptible, transparent, and secure financial network, replacing the current financial infrastructure, which is corrupt. Prominent claims that the under NESARA, currencies worldwide will become asset-backed or gold-backed, silver or platinum, and
Overthought says, could you imagine if the government actually had to forgive all debts every 7 years? Year 6 in December, everyone would take out credit cards, mortgages, car loans. I think it would be 7 years from the time of the initial start of the debt. I don't think it's like 7 years for everyone. I think it would be different. I don't know, though. It's not really a concept that exists like today, so I don't know.
Revalued to ensure fair value across nations for trade. Okay, this global version promises an end to the financial crisis, poverty reduction.
This guy has 40,000 subscribers, by the way,
and more equitable distribution of wealth. Okay, the official reality of NESARA, despite details, claims, and widespread online discussion, neither NESARA nor NESARA are recognized as a actual law or government programs, okay, until now. Such as the U.S. Congress and the New Zealand Treasury have confirmed no such legislation have been introduced or is in effect.
Do you think you should maybe take that as a hint that it's not real?
These concepts are widely considered conspiracy theories. Their persistence can be attributed to factors like the desire for financial relief.
He's literally reading a Chat GPT summary, isn't he?
And distrust.
He asked, it's literally telling him he's wrong right now, and he doesn't realize it, because I don't know if he can read out loud and think about the words at the same time. The Chat GPT's telling him he's wrong!
Of the established institutions. However, the lack of
Green guy with a tip says, free stuff for white male Christians is totally fine. Nothing wrong there.
Verifiable legislation, or history and official documentation underscores the NESARA remains unsubstantial claims and existing primarily with speculative online narratives. Now, what I'm going to say here with them saying...
Oh, good. He's going to talk now instead of trying to read.
What they're saying, let's look at it this way. Trump has been doing many things that is in line with NESARA. Okay? Because he's been wiping out debt. People have been getting their debts wiped off. People...
Who? What? When? Where?
Have been getting their mortgages wiped off. And that...
What is he talking about?
Can't be nothing.
Is he in some conspiracy group online where people are lying about getting their mortgages, forgiven?
More than a NESARA act. Okay? There is credit cards, people getting their credit cards relief. A lot of this stuff that is going on is behind the scenes. I have been watching, not listening to Trump, but I've been watching Trump and all his, what he's doing to clear up and reform everything
Probably a lot of SOBSID overlap. That would make sense to me, to be honest.
That has been going
SOBSIDs already believe in secret, like, multi-billion-dollar bank accounts for everyone, so I guess this isn't that much of a stretch for them.
On in the United States. But this is happening worldwide because we're seeing monies that are starting to come out with a gold-backed standard. That's all part of NESARA. We are watching this all unfold and witnessing this all unfolding in front of our eyes. But we still have people, naysayers, and, going into the bank, other than they're doing some, renovations here, there, and everywhere to central, different banks, really, we're not going to, we're not feeling it, right? We're not seeing it, but there is things happening if we...
I'm sorry, he thinks that local banks getting renovations has something to do with NESARA? Why would the bank be renovated for that? Those aren't even related, hypothetically.
Look a little bit deeper. Basel III, when I go in there and ask for banks, or ask the banks, are you Basel III compliant? Some will say yes, some will say no.
Benikagami says Trump isn't even canceling rich people debt. Hell, that's why he wants the Fed to set negative interest rates. It's to undo the fact that technically all rich people wealth is massive debt. I'm so scared. The thing, as much as I'm scared of, the ICE situation and how fashy everything's getting, oh my god, the Fed. When Trump's guy gets into the Fed, whatever he's gonna set interest rates at is gonna cause inflation to go crazy. It's gonna be so bad, you have no idea.
Now, also, why is there such a widespread talk about the med beds?
Oh, damn it! Of course he believes in med beds.
If it's not part of the technology or free energy that they're allowing, that we're seeing all over social media now about how free energy can, things that are being made through free energy. If the world was still being controlled by the cabal, none of this stuff would be...
Cabal on the bingo card. Also, filming in car. I think this is an RV, but it's a motor vehicle. I'd count that as filming in car.
Being able to be shown to the public. None of it. The things that we're able to say and do now tells me that there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes in the United States. And with all the military, that's around cleaning up the country itself. It's widespread. It's all over the streets. They're cleaning up all the garbage. And you have to...
Oh, yikes.
Clean up the garbage.
He's calling human beings garbage. That's not a Nazi talking point.
And sometimes...
Oh, it is? Oh, shit. That's not good.
You have to bring the whole building down in order to start fresh again. And that's exactly what's happening in the United States right now. People are rising up all over the place.
Oh, God, is Trey still here? There's a guy trying to burn down society to build the new one on its ashes. Christ. People are not doing well. Wow.
Because they're sick and tired of all this. You're seeing the whole system and all the old guards being reformed. They're all everybody's stepping down or disappearing from the scene, from their basic their cabal banking system protocols. Everything's disappearing. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm not asking everybody to, believe.
I'm trying to decide if the cabal banking protocols is thinly veiled. Protocols? I gotta say that's thinly veiled anti-Semitism.
What I'm saying people look around. Just look around and see how the changes are happening. When we're in a war, we're not going to be televising everything. Where this is a whole different animal that's happening right now. Everything's done covertly. They're talking about all these new medicines and people that are being able to take this or use this product over here or, like, all these different products to heal yourself naturally. I mean,
I think he's talking about, I spend time on BitChute and Rumble for this show because I find conspiracy theories and like weird videos on there. All of the ads are for like alt health scams. So I'm almost wondering if he's saying, oh, they're talking about all these people taking all these things and it works. Is he talking about BitChute scam ads? It's like he's taking the BitChute scam ads like it's the news. Oh, God.
The world is starting to focus in on, what countries are the real demons, and
what countries are the real demons? This man votes. This man votes more than the average person, I would guess. Jesus Christ.
That were the, held power and held slavery over the masses around the world. And it's all being, related to what's in the Bible. There's huge changes going on here. And there's people out there saying nothing's happening, or, don't believe that NESARA is happening. I know it's happening. Maybe not as quick as we want it to be.
Trey says, not just that, there's also a very large number of Facebook ads for alt health stuff that are designed very much to look like people just posting instead of them being blatant product endorsements, and Truth Social is literally buried in this kind of shit. Yeah, it is.
But there is reform happening. There is going to be a reckoning
Solus asks, I'm curious, what do you think he sees to come to these conclusions, like looks in his regular life and projects outward, or projects his fantasies onto the world? I think he's put himself in an online echo chamber of other conspiracy people, and I think he's listening only to them, whether he realizes it or not, and he's being put in an environment where he's seeing ads and other scams that are telling him lies as well, and it's shaping his entire worldview. This happens to all of us when we spend all our time on the internet. You are in a bubble, and you are getting served things algorithmically, and every website these days is trying to make it harder for you to search for things on your own and not just get things algorithmically shoved into your face. Reddit is getting rid of like all and just making it so you either have your front page or like a popular page where it algorithmically chooses what to show you, kind of like Instagram or Facebook. YouTube has gotten rid of the sort by newest feature, which makes it very difficult to find newer, smaller channels. They just want you on the main page where they can algorithmically send you things that their algorithm thinks are addicting or what you want that'll serve you the most ads. It's terrible. The internet is being absolutely gutted and shitified. Like, I miss when everything you could just sort chronologically and you could just stop whenever you wanted, but now everything's scroll bait. It's terrible. It's so bad.
And I'm calling for the new world, because we're not, as humanity goes, we're not going to be able to put up with this. If we were enslaved anymore, none of this stuff would be on social media. Not even the galactics and everything that's going, that is beyond our ecosystem. All the technology and the people that are talking about everything that is around our universe and our galaxies, such as Ishmael. I mean, there's so many people out there talk about this stuff. It's all being exposed.
There's so many people talking about it, it must be true. The danger of allowing conspiracy theorists to just spread freely all over your websites.
I think that's all part of NESARA. Everything's being exposed. I mean, I'm not, I'm following it like everybody else is, right? So how can they say, well, NESARA doesn't exist when it has done? And part of the protocol is all the new technologies are coming out. They're showing everybody this through social media to make everybody adapt to what's going on.
It's interesting that he thinks the social media he sees is the same social media that, for, let's say, you or I see. I'm sure our pages, our websites, our apps all look very different than his because we are engaging with different content. He doesn't seem to understand that the content he's seeing is tailored for his specific interests. He thinks it's general. Fenekagami says, here's another scary thing to think about. Even if somehow Congress resists Trump and keeps Jerome Powell as chair, if the Senate stays enough under Republican control, the two old farts that are Trump's lackeys and SCOTUS are likely to retire and give Trump 2 more appointments. 5 SCOTUS seats appointed by Trump, grinding all attempts to improve the country or just fix the damage for like the next 20 to 30 years. Always uplifting, Fenekagami, thanks.
About what's coming. Everybody, because, humanity is slow, to catch on. And, they're not, the darkness, the 10 days of darkness, or the 3 days of darkness, whatever's happening, I mean, you could see how it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to shut down things because, of the amount of chaos that we're witnessing right now in the world. This can't continue. There'll have to be a stop, and the military is the only way. Why is the military in the streets? They're in the streets because they're cleaning up all the garbage. Why is things continuing? Okay, I mean,
yeah, we'll look at the bingo card after this.
In other countries, I mean, Canada is a very, very expensive place. So is Australia, New Zealand, and other Western cultures are living in turmoil and bullshit right now. But if you see in Spain or Italy or England, France, the people are all uprising. They're going in the streets, and you go over to Indonesia, you go over to Philippines. Philippines is rioting there now. It's all through Asia. It's I mean, the only places that are not rioting are the places that have the BRICS nations, and the BRICS or formerly attached to the BRICS, right? Those nations, including Iraq, is beautiful. I just went through there not a year and a half ago, right? It was absolutely beautiful there, and same with the Vietnam. It's gorgeous there. Those are all part of the BRICS. That's what's happening. And don't think for 1 minute that Trump and Putin are not talking, and Xi Jinping. They're cleaning up all the garbage, and we're seeing this thing happening.
The dehumanization he has for other people, it's so banal and so disgusting.
Covertly, but if you really look, it's getting cleaned up. This is all part of NESARA. What else can you call it? This is a complete worldwide reform that's happening right now. And if you got people out there saying, well, there's no NESARA, I don't care, that's fine. You don't have to call it that. Call it whatever you want. And that maybe that's why Trump has never mentioned the word NESARA, but
it's definitely not because you're just cooked in the head.
But he's doing it. He's performing it, right? I mean, he's moving all the Fed money, all that old money. He's ripping it.
Why does NESARA need genocide? Because this old man is angry, and only bloodlust will sate him.
Right out of the cabal's hands, and he's going to take that old money, as we are witnessing now, the new gold notes that people are sending me, showing people that this is how what the new money looks like. It's gold print. It could be from Utah, it could be from Ohio, it could be from Florida, and it'll...
Wait, what? He thinks we're going back to individual states being able to mint their own money? We tried that under the Articles of Confederation. It went very badly. That's a terrible idea.
Say Florida on it. It'll say $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. But that's new currency, and they're accepting it. All the commercial or the little shops around are accepting it. I can see this is all being reformed. So, I mean, when people say there's no NESARA, I don't care if you say there's not or whatever, but it is being performed. You can call it whatever you want. Not to mention all the redemption money. It has to. When they're all moving into the BRICS, which
this guy's a homicidal maniac.
Is the gold back standard.
Jesus Christ.
It has to be reevaluated because it's gold back, right? Well, I mean, why is gold...
Need shiny rock. Me no like paper. Shiny rock me money. Only shiny rock money. Me want shiny rock.
Gold doubled in value, and silver's almost tripled in value in the last 2 years. You know, I mean, it did like.
Benikagami says, you want uplifting? I'll show you uplifting. Zoran Mamdani's approval rating has skyrocketed since he became mayor, and in addition, the universal free childcare he secured, he's opening a pre-2K program which will allow kids to start getting education starting at 2 and lighten parents' burden. I'm very jealous of New York City. There, I showed you. See, that's nice.
You know,
that's good. More of that.
When I first started buying into what it is now, it's you know, in Canadian money, it's gone up $43 per ounce. You know, that's better than any stock that I've ever bought, right? And all these penny stocks and the XRPs and all this other stuff, we are changing. We are definitely changing, folks. So don't let anybody tell you that things aren't happening. And, you know, people can call it whatever you want to call it, but it is changing, and our world is about to get much, much better once we get through all this garbage. Anyways, my time is definitely up on this one, so I've overrun myself a bit. Anyways, hope that made sense to everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Jesus. That guy's scary. Let's see what else. Oh, we're gonna do a bingo check. Sorry. Ooh, boy. Let's see. We have, you're gonna have to help me on this, probably, because we did so many videos. Recording in car. M. Scheffler says, there is no human on Earth. That made sense, too. Unfortunately, he has a decent number of subscribers, so made sense to the wackos. Vibes-based conspiracy, I think, for the immortalist people. Shilling scamming for them selling their book. Doesn't understand their problem is capitalism for most of his NESARA bullshit. Hannah mentions Blu-rays, word salad. Really wants a civil war for, again, that last guy. Thinly veiled anti-Semitism. Did he say the deep state? It feels like the kind of thing he would have said, but I don't recall if he said it. Past lives reincarnation for the vest dude. Illuminati, Freemasons, Cabal. Think that's it. Oh, it was 16? Conspiracy theorists tells on themselves, sure. I can see that for the old guy being absolutely nuts. Did I laugh enough to count for dies of laughter? Oh, no. You would know. We haven't gotten that in a while. Okay, let's try this one out. This is from the guy that... This guy thinks rocks are people. Ugh.
Is Tabletop Mountain in Golden, Colorado. A large flat rock that looks to the Rocky Mountains to the west, and just...
Oh, we also had Believe Sci-Fi Tech is Real. Sorry, I didn't mark that. I'll mark it next time.
Below sits the Coors Brewing Company. In August of 2025, I was up here getting some footage with my drone. Nothing was out of the ordinary. I didn't notice any UFOs or anything strange while I was there.
Well, that's good to know.
It's when I watched the footage...
Do you catch UFOs on your drone often?
Weeks later that I captured multiple flying objects. And before I tell you what I think, let's roll the footage. There's a white object that is football-shaped, and it comes flying around this corner of rock. It's traveling fast as it zips around the corner.
It looks like a bug or something. Hold on.
Shaped, and it...
We can go frame by frame. Oh, is that it? Yeah, either it's a bird zipping through further away, or it's a bug close to the lens. You can only see it, like, for a second.
flying around this corner of rock. It's traveling fast as it zips around the corner. If we look closely, if we slow it down a bit, it appears it may have some help getting around the corner. Look closely and you'll see what looks like a guide rod or something that may be absorbing the energy of this thing as to avoid a crash as it hits the corner.
What?
It's really strange.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with bird too. In that footage, it looks like a
Trust me,
bird.
things only get more strange from here. Next, I wanted to see if I could track this thing back, and I had to go frame by frame. Its speed made it difficult to track at times. This thing is a blur, but I was able to track it to its source, and this raises all sorts of questions. On the top of a rock appears to be a metal housing. It's being shot out of this metal contraption on top of this rock. Now what do you make of that?
There's probably a nest back there.
After seeing this, I combed through all of the footage to see what else I could find. Here you'll see what I think triggered this device. There is a microphone on top of this rock right here. And I think it may be possible that it heard my drone and could have triggered this device. So that begs the question, is this some sort of counter surveillance device?
No.
And if so, this is the
if it's even a microphone, it's someone doing a study or something on the birds. It's not, they're not securing this random mountain face.
strangest counter surveillance measure I would ever think they would come up with. Quite frankly, this seems rather foolish to me to be a countermeasure for a drone.
It's almost like it's not that.
Now, what you've seen so far really does make the case that something, some beings or some people, military, who knows, could be inside of this mountain, that there may be more to this mountain than just what you see. Now, there's more. In this next piece of footage, this is the same day, the same trip, you're going to see a UFO. Now, the last object looked like it was mechanical. It looked like a tangible object.
It was a tangible object, but it wasn't mechanical. It's a bird.
It was made.
It's a plane. It's Superman.
Manufactured. Someone handles, gets shot out of this contraption on top of the rock. It's an object. This next UFO is anything but. This thing comes flying out of this rock, hits another rock immediately, bends,
That's another bird.
Makes a 90-degree turn.
Does he just not know there are birds that like live on like cliff faces and edges and stuff and build their nests in the cracks? Like in his head, are birds just like a tree thing, so he can't imagine that these are birds?
Flies off and goes invisible. Check this out. Now, what do you make of that?
Bird.
That is advanced technology if I've ever seen it. There's no frame of reference for whatever that is.
Sir, you need a higher speed camera if you want to capture the birds better. Yeah, doesn't understand how cameras work on the bingo card. I'll go with that.
That's two objects that scream to me someone is watching this mountain very, very closely, and I'd like to know why.
Is he just gonna show this for like 5 more minutes? Poor guy. I really hope he gets help, because he needs it. Okay. Let me mark off some things on the bingo card real quick. Doesn't understand how cameras work, and believes sci-fi tech exists. This is gonna be believes they speak to aliens regularly on the bingo card.
And I don't say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right.
This is from Bashar's YouTube channel. I had been looking at the channeler's YouTube channel, but as it turns out, the alien he channels, Bashar, has his own YouTube channel. Of course. So this is now on the Bashar YouTube channel.
We have entitled this transmission, Interdimensional Portals and Where to Find Them. Now, this transmission will be
dimensions beyond our own on the bingo card.
A little bit all over the map, specifically the one in your hands. We will be dealing with a few energy portals, not all of them. We will start with some, and over time, we will introduce more and more and more of them in future transmissions. But for now, if you will regard the maps you have been given, we can begin.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So my next question's about belief systems, I suppose.
Yes.
So I have a fear, and this fear, I'm not afraid of what happens after I die.
Yes.
I'm afraid of how I will die.
Well, how do you imagine that you will die that seems so fearful?
I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to die, so it scares me, the idea of, say, maybe pain or...
So you are saying that you simply prefer not to experience pain. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That you would like to die simply and easily?
Yeah.
All right, well then go ahead and do that.
All right, you got him there, Bashar.
Okay.
What is it that you believe will determine that transition?
Yeah, and
Nemesaur says, Hannah, I don't have my map. How will I be able to follow along? The map was the friends we made along the way.
I think that's maybe it, is that perhaps I think that...
He's got to be legitimate. Look at the size of that crystal. You just can't get crystals like that if you don't know an alien.
Set up for me. Like, it's something that is inevitable, and when that happens,
So you understand that you set it up, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you believe that you chose a particularly nasty way to die?
Well, I see other... I don't think anyone comes in saying, I want to die like this.
Oh, but sometimes they do, because it depends on what purpose that serves. Now, yes, it's true, for the most part, people may forget that they have a choice and have made a choice, and so they may just simply let it run its course and experience.
Yeah, I hate this line of thought. There's a lot of New Age spiritual people and other people who believe this basically think that you consent to your entire life before it happens, that you sign a soul contract. So these are people who believe, for instance, that everyone who died in the Holocaust chose to do so. It's truly a morally repugnant ideology, and it sickens me. I'm not a fan. Terradona says he stole the map. It must be returned.
Experience the idea of pain. But since you're asking the question, that obviously means you have some conscious recognition that it's possible to change that. Yes? Or you wouldn't be asking the question. You wouldn't even consider the possibility that you might be able to consider something different. So the fact that you can ask the question is usually an indication that you can choose right now a way that would work better for you. Yes?
Yeah.
So how would you like to transition? In your sleep, or floating in a pool? Or...
Like, just peaceful, just like real chill,
right.
Yeah.
Well, then again, there is nothing preventing that. If you believe that it doesn't really serve you, if there's no lesson to be learned that you can't learn in life by experiencing the idea of a painful transition, then there's no need to experience it that way. Yes? And remember,
that's terrible advice. He's just saying don't. Like, I know that there's not, like, you just need to probably go to therapy to deal with these thoughts, but, like, He can't just tell her, just don't die horribly. No one has power over that. You can be careful, but accidents happen.
In that sense, death is really just like waking up from a dream, because physical reality is a dream. You do understand that you're in spirit right now.
Physical reality is not a dream. It is real life. Please don't consider your life a dream. It is real. This is real physical reality. This is the only one that exists.
Yes? None of you leave spirit. That's your natural state. You are just dreaming that you've left.
He's saying the avoidance of human suffering is not weakness. He's channeling a fake alien. So I think he's saying a little more than that.
That's what physical reality is. A portion of your greater being in non-physical reality is pretending that it's no longer in the spirit realm. But you are there. Right now, the greater portion of you. And this portion that is seemingly the whole of your identity as a physical being, to the version of you that is in spirit right now, is just about the same as the size of your fingernail. That's your physical being, to the spirit that you are. Do you understand? So just like you wake up in the morning from a dream, yes? Is that painful?
No.
Well, then same idea. You're just going to wake up and go, oh, that seemed so real, but now I know that was just a dream, and this is who I actually am.
That is so dangerous to tell people their life is like a dream. That's so dangerous. You're gonna make people make terrible decisions based on that bad advice.
Yes?
Yeah.
Does that sound more preferable?
Yeah.
All right.
Finnikagami says at least other pre-destiny beliefs felt that your misery was forced on you either because of God's plan or a punishment you earned somehow.
Then it can be that way for you. Unless, of course, you choose to be a masochist.
Yeah, I'd prefer...
And feel like you need to punish yourself for something at the end of your life. Is that something you believe you need?
No.
All right. Then there is no need to experience that. Yes?
Yeah.
It can be over in a blink. In fact, if you really are actually at any point in your life done, all you have to do is lie down and close your eyes and say, I'm ready to go. And then count to 10. If you can open your eyes at the end, you're not done.
What kind of advice is this? They're laughing. That's not funny.
Because it can be that easy if you actually are done. You can just say, I'm done. Lie down, close your eyes, and go. Yes?
Yeah.
Is this helping?
Yeah, it's helping.
Oh, all right. You feel a little bit more relaxed about your death?
A little bit.
Yeah. If you want, we will be happy to show up at the moment of your death with pitchforks.
You could show up, but maybe no pitchforks. Just, a friendly hello.
But we would only do that to make you laugh. And that way you get to die laughing.
There you go. That'd be cool.
I can't believe people pay money to see that guy. That's terrible. Oh boy. Okay, what else do we have? Oh no. We do have a new Hans Worm hat called Geology is Bullshit. Any geologists here ready to get mad?
This is going to be a really quick video just talking about an idea and how this is the same operation that those in control of the narrative,
Corwin says, so death is something we have no control over, and this guy is trying to sell taking back a bit of that powerlessness. He's selling a lie. He's lying and saying he's an alien from another dimension communicating with people. He's a con artist. I don't care if there's something positive you can personally take away from that. He is taking people's money based on a lie. That's terrible. That's disgusting.
people who write fake history, the people who decide what the experts get to
You can come to terms with death and help people to do so without lying to them and taking their money. surreptitiously.
Talk about. They play the same game over and over, and you see it all over the place. So, for instance, in the fake space stuff, it's why they tell you that things are a cajillion miles away. It's so big that you can't even imagine it, but it's also so far away. It's to disconnect you from reality, to make the numbers so extreme that you feel like you can't even relate to it. And they have people living in this mind matrix where they feel like they can't
Matrix on the bingo card?
even fathom reality because it's just too big for them to possibly ever comprehend.
Reminder that he doesn't believe koalas are real, or penguins, or toucans, or zebras. He's talking about other people not being able to comprehend reality, so that's where we're at.
Another big one that I love to talk about is biology, because they do this with biology too. You can't go out and try to consume media on biology without being bombarded with bullshit straight away. 500 trillion years ago. Like, that is not science. You can't reproduce that.
I've decided he is the czar of science, and he has decided he doesn't like those numbers, so no science.
Once you wake up to the programming and you become critical of it, you stop just accepting whatever somebody's going to tell you. Once you're actually being critical, it becomes so obvious how heavy-handed they are with, like I said, you can't go watch something even on like squirrels or even about plants without immediately being bombarded with the programming this many million years ago. And how the entire system is built up in a way that it's self-fulfilling. And if you don't agree to talk about that stuff, you won't get funding. You're not going to get a degree in biology without your abstract talking about evolution. So
not every paper has to do with evolution. That's not true. Evolution is a well understood fact. That's why it's in a lot of biology, because it's fundamental to our understanding of it. But that understanding isn't some mythology or some belief system they just picked up for no reason. It's based on doing science, collecting evidence, trying to falsify your claims, right? It's not like they just made it up.
So they've built in the lie into...
Corwin says, I think he means teachers are biased. Corwin, I know this man. He thinks World War II didn't happen. He thinks the slave trade is fake. Why are you giving all of these people the benefit of the doubt? I know these people. They are crazy people. They are con artists. They are delusional. You don't need to soften this. This is literally the show. We look at people who are delusional. He's not saying, oh, just educated people are biased. He fundamentally believes that every educated person is lying and is in on a conspiracy. You are wrong about this person.
To the system, and
he doesn't believe pandas exist.
If you're not
he thinks that gorillas are people in fursuits trying to trick you.
Willing to accept that, then that's the price of admission to play the game, is to accept their bullshit. You can't be a biologist if you're not...
He thinks that sloths are robots.
Gonna blab on about evolution.
I'm not making up any of these claims. These are all claims he has made.
That you just won't... I mean, you could get a degree, I guess, if you just put your head down and you kept those thoughts to yourself. Anyways, so... They same lie with geology. Just to bring it back to what this video is actually about, is geology. And this is a really cool subject because there is I don't know what they call themselves nowadays, the mud flood. Of course, all of these, whenever they give a label to something like that, it's so that their goons can come up and take over the movement and shove it in a wrong direction.
All those geologist goons.
Or just repeat the same garbage over and over. Guru, sell you some guruism. And fake history, geology being mixed with human buildings, that is just such a cool topic, because it's just true, it's real, that after a while, or given certain cataclysmic events, things made by humans can turn into geology. And that's a truth that you'll never learn that in school because it goes
I like that he just bases it on nothing other than he said it, so it's got to be true.
against the narrative. And we just have this big, I mean, I already kind of
uses AI on the bingo card.
I mentioned it. It's to take you away. It's to detach you from reality. But there's also this concept of the big lie. It's a propaganda technique and psychological concept describing a lie so audacious, colossal, and often repeated that individuals believe it must be true, as they cannot fathom someone having the impudence to distort the truth so infamously.
Pretty important definition to know these days. Geology isn't one of them.
The big lie shows up in all sorts of things. It's the ball earth. How could all the governments be lying?
Flat earth on the bingo card.
About this. That is so crazy. Well, what do you mean the earth is flat and the sun is not that far away? The sun's actually a bajillion miles. It's just so far from what people, it's so audacious. That's exactly the same thing with the ball earth stuff. People really just think that would be
Joker's wild with a bingo. Let me take a look. Flat Earth believes sci-fi exists. Sci-fi technology exists. Free space believes they speak to aliens. Hannah mentions Blu-rays. That's a winner. Let me gift you a sub real quick. Do. So that is our official winner of the gift sub today. We can still play for fun, but that's the winner. Congrats, Joker's Wild.
Be too crazy for them to make up these lies. And that protects the lie. Somehow it's a weird magic trick. That's, in my opinion, stuff like that is like applied magic. Somebody found out, some trickster a long time ago realized that people, that they could make their lie so crazy and that people somehow believed it more. It's just a psychology trick, magic.
Has Hans mentioned Flat Earth before? Yeah, we knew he was a flat earther. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for gifting a sub.
I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on the big lie. How they get away with it by being so extreme with their lies. And geology, to bring it back to what this video is talking about, here's a video. You could go check it out if you want. I don't know the context. I just like the idea of the video. Our garbage turned into minerals. Human waste is now turning into new types of minerals. But a big part of this video was that it's a short time span. That what I love about this video is it just drives home the point that happens so often with this big lie thing in the matrix that they've created of deception. The satanic deception, Freemasonic system that everybody lives under. It follows this formula all the time, where we have this process that's actually short. It's a short process. And what they tell us is that it takes a bajillion years. That happens with...
It's getting hard to remember what Crank believes what. I'm pretty good at it. I've been able to partition it in my head. So I'm pretty good at remembering who believes what. I make mistakes, but I'm pretty good.
To bring it back, I talked earlier about biology, but to maybe finish one of my other thoughts about biology actually adapts quickly. So I rambled on and on about how you can't even play the game unless you accept evolution, millions of years. If you're not going to be talking about millions of years, your biology paper's probably not even going to get published.
I mean, if it's something that is over the span of millions of years, because that's what the evidence shows, it's not a dogmatic thing. It's just using the evidence and using information that's been tested and hasn't been falsified.
Or you're not going to make an educational science video and talk about how quickly biology adapts, because that's not the MO. That's not what they've agreed to lie about. Anyways, so biology actually adapts really, really quickly. And you can see hybrid species appear like really quickly. Think of the way that they can take tulips or something and breed it into a million different... That's evolution. So evolution, the grain of truth to evolution...
That's cross-pollination.
Evolution is that things do adapt, but they actually adapt really quickly. And it's just a way that God made this place for biology to adapt.
Marco says, speaking of mixing up people, has Wish.com Hans with the reading of the breast milk bar showed his head in a while? No, I checked out his channel a little bit ago and he hadn't posted anything. Yeah, that milk bar thing, breast milk bar, was something.
When they tell you that 500 million years ago, that's just bullshit. But things do actually really adapt. Man,
Say it with me, class. There's no such thing as micro or macro evolution. There's just evolution. Adaptation over time is evolution. It's just a timescale thing. There's no partition between micro and macro. The distinction does not exist.
Biology is one I could ramble about because they make fun of their, it's like there's that two competing theories of biology. One is like the giraffes' necks get longer because they stretch their neck. It's like, and that gets mocked heavily.
Yeah, because that turned out not to be true. We found out later that there is some genetic change within the lifetime of an animal sometimes. Epigenetics is a thing. But it's not Lamarckian evolution as he, spelled it out.
But it's actually closer to the truth. You can actually change your biology through what you do. And what comes to mind, there's just this cool thing. Have you ever heard where archaeologists dig somebody up and they're like, oh, that person was an archer? Because they can just tell with their bone structure that they had like a really strong right arm or something like that. I'm sure you guys have heard.
It's because the bone gets very dense and thicker on the side where they're like holding the bow because it takes so much tension.
That biology can actually adapt really quickly. You could make a race of human
and yeah, that's not evolution.
Beings that are like really suited to do certain things by them doing that thing. Yeah, I guess this wasn't going to be a super short video. Geology. Yeah, I guess for me personally, geology, it's not that interesting to me, but I think it's cool other people have channels. So I guess in the comments you can drop your favorite fake history channel or bricks into rocks channel. I know that there's some cool channels out there that take some good footage of some suspicious looking geology out there. And there's just like bricks in the middle of this weird melted rock pile. But the point is it happens quickly. They lie and say that geological things are 1 million years old, when in fact the young Earth creationists, people who say that the Earth is only like 6,000 years old or 8,000 years old, those people are way, way, way closer to the truth than
again, not based on the evidence, just saying things. It's like he thinks having a thought in his head is evidence. He's confident about it emotionally. Therefore, he believes it's a fact that he can just assert, as if his feelings are equivalent to over a century of hard evidence and study by countless individuals in their field and the peers who reviewed them and their work. It's incredibly narcissistic.
Any took a bajillion years for this to... No, that's the lie. The truth is much closer to what Bible literalists. It's just the same way that Earth really is more like a Bible literalist interpretation. History and geology is also more Bible literalist. I don't know, just to may as well keep rambling. I do think that there could be things that are really, really old though. And that in the beginning, like when God's first days, who knows how long those things really took. And I do think that there could be some truth to that. Who knows how long those first couple days were compared to today when time is moving so much more quickly. And there could be some truth to the giant trees and stuff. Anyways, this really turned out to be a good ramble video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about...
complimenting his own video.
Oh, just the geology thing, how tons of mountains out there, they could be ancient trash piles. In this video, they talk about some sort of rock formation along the coast, and they say it's the tailings from an old, I don't know, something or other. Something to do with metal, maybe. So I think that is very true, in that a lot of things that get told to us are geological and millions of years old. It's probably ancient. It could be an ancient trash heap. You know, there could be mountains out there that are just an ancient trash pile that ended up solidifying.
Has Hans ever had a thought that he decided wasn't worth putting on the internet?
I guess one more point is that this goes in with more academia lies. You know how when we were little, I remember being told crazy things about the stars. Every star you see is already dead. I remember being told crazy stuff like that they don't even lie like that anymore. But also the zones on your tongue, being able to taste different things, and just everybody knows, like, this can't be right. I can taste salty everywhere. I can taste sweet everywhere. This is wrong.
It's more so that I think there's more concentrations of certain kinds of taste cells in those areas, but yeah, the taste map is like bullshit, the way that they describe it versus the reality.
Yeah, you have the education system.
That happens. Outdated stuff does get into textbooks sometimes and gets taught longer than it should. That doesn't mean all of science is bullshit, Hans.
Preaching these things like absolute truth. The smallpox blankets are actually another one that it was proven to be an academic hoax. But the world just keeps marching on, pretending that this is some truth. The geology one that I want to bring up, just as the last thought, because it stuck with me. In the 90s, there was endless Save the Planet programming. And in the 90s, one of the big lies...
I miss Captain Planet.
...lies that people would say...
He was a hero. He was going to bring pollution down to zero.
...is they would say, like, plastic... Did you know that plastic takes like 1 million years to decompose? And that's just such obviously BS. And I remember back then thinking...
Oh, God. He doesn't... Why would they lie about that?
How could they possibly know that it takes 1 million years to decompose if we haven't been around for 1 million years?
Because you can look at the rate of decomposition and extrapolate. If you're going 60 miles per hour and you're consistent in that speed, I can determine how far you will go over a certain period of time if you determine the rate of your travel, just like you can determine the rate of decomposition. I feel like that's intuitive, right? Like, am I crazy?
Looking at plastic, watching it decompose. But that just shows you how science is a liar. Modern science is just...
Hans doesn't understand a concept, therefore all scientists are liars. That's a good way to think about it.
Yes, they just throw out the most crazy BS that is not testable. That's not... And
it is testable. They do test it. That's how they come up with their numbers, is by testing it.
They actually used to teach the scientific method and how...
They still do.
You have to have a test. Well, where's your test to prove that plastic takes 1 million years? Who's been sitting around for 1 million years? And in fact, real life teaches us the opposite. The sun can obliterate a piece of plastic in a couple years. So no, it doesn't take 1 million years for plastic to disintegrate. It can get obliterated in the sun in a handful of years.
I don't know anything about that claim about the sun, but do you think that plastic in landfills is exposed to the sun? It's buried under mountains of trash. It's all buried in like landfills. It's not having direct exposure to the sun. Also, yes, there are different kinds of plastic that have different rates of decay, I would imagine.
And they're always coming out with articles of new bacteria comes out and eats plastic. Like, this is linked up with the biology thing. Biology is very adaptable, and it's way quicker than millions of years. So all of the bacteria and yeast and all the little microorganisms that live out there on everything, who knows how quickly that adapts to eat up plastic. And it just proves that this stuff probably has existed in the past before. It's just, it solidifies into rock, it becomes a mountain somewhere, it just gets it gets petrified or turned into dust.
Yeah, it doesn't understand the scientific method on the bingo card.
And it's just a huge lie that they tell us about plastic takes 1 million years to decompose. No, it doesn't. That's just more BS out of the propaganda factory known as the education system. And that is enough rambling for this video. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think. And God bless everyone.
Oh, Hans. What's this NESARA guy up to?
My name is Dr. Scott Young, and I want to share with you today a very powerful piece of information. It's NESARA, JSARA, the gold standard monetary history and 1 Corinthians 3, 10 through 16. Coming right up. What I'm going to do first is I want to give you some historical perspective upon how money was thought of. Then we're going to move into the
Alden Undying says, so the reason we don't hear about the plastic-eating bacteria, it turns out it just makes it into smaller, worst plastic waste. Source, no such thing as fish. Oh, that's great. Fenekagami says, the sunlight does degrade things that you wouldn't expect it to. I've heard some research is being done to develop bacteria that can clean up oil and plastic, and the sun dissolves glass. But the glass thing takes a long time.
The 20th century, I'm going to back up and we're going to talk about what 1 Corinthians 3:13 or 10 through 16 says, and then we'll kind of wrap it all together. So it's kind of an interesting way of looking at this. Okay, so you need to know how money is thought of in Scripture. When they talk about the parable of the talents, that is about cash, because the value of a talent is 6,000 denarii. So that is 6,000 days of a man's wage. Just for your information, 6,000 days of a man's wage, if we take $50,000 a year of the average American salary kind of thing, you're going to come up with $1.2 million is the value of a talent. You see, so the Bible's talking about bigger things than some other versions want to try to tell you. Now, one of the points that happens...
Okay, that guy's boring. Let's do a Tartaria thing.
I never set out to question the history books, but then I saw the buildings, the impossible glass dome
Tartaria on the bingo card.
spanning acres, the terracotta palaces with
Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub and kicking off a hype train. If you want to help out and support the show, you can always gift subs, become a subscriber, or use bits. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
carvings we couldn't replicate today. The exhibition...
We can replicate these carvings! Again, so many conspiracy theories are just based on saying bullshit you made up in your head.
halls erected in months that would take us years. This wasn't primitive construction with horse-drawn carts. This was something inherited. And then, like clockwork, the disasters arrived. Fires that burned entire cities to ash. Floods burying first floors overnight across continents. Earthquakes timed with surgical precision. Ask yourself, what are the odds that
why would it need to be timed with surgical precision? The city isn't going anywhere. Anytime the earthquake happens, the city will be there to be destroyed. It doesn't need to be timely.
major city harboring these impossibilities suffered catastrophic destruction within the same narrative?
Nemesaur, thank you so much for gifting another 10 Tier 1 subs. You are the best. Thanks, Nemesaur. And Blue Green Orange says, I don't know how you stay sane. That's my secret, chat. I've never been sane. So there you go.
A window.
Phoenix Leftist, thanks for gifting a sub to Garby the Cat Meows, 40% to level 4 on the hype train.
And with each disaster, the cascade began. Construction techniques vanished, architectural plans burned, master craftsmen went silent,
The way we built buildings changed.
Population records fragmented, census data that doesn't add up, orphan trains carrying hundreds of thousands from nowhere, asylums swelling with the confused entire family lines, erased. And that's when I stumbled onto the question that shattered everything. If there was a different world before ours, a civilization we've been told doesn't exist, where did all the people go? Not the building.
There have been multiple civilizations before ours. There's like the Indus River Valley civilizations. There's civilizations in China going back thousands and thousands of years. There's ancient Egypt. Many civilizations predate our own. Not the one you believe in, though, because it's fictional.
It's not the architecture.
For those who maybe don't know what this is the Tartarian conspiracy theory. There's a bunch of people who believe that we didn't build stuff in, like, the 1700s, 1800s, even back to, like, the 1500s and the Middle Ages, cathedrals and stuff like that. They don't think people were capable of it because they didn't have electricity. because they're myopic and can't imagine people working in a way different than themselves. So they believe that there was an ancient civilization called Tartaria that had super sci-fi technology and infinite energy that actually built all of the old buildings. It's nonsense. None of it's true. It's basically an excuse for them to not understand history or how hard people have worked throughout human history to build the incredible things that we have built long before we had electricity.
The people, the witnesses, the survivors, where are they? It began with photographs, late 1800 street scenes from cities across the world. San Francisco, Melbourne, Moscow, Buenos Aires, Chicago. I was researching urban development when I noticed something peculiar in image after image. Streets being excavated, buildings with their first floors partially buried, workers digging out entire city blocks. Official captions called it grading or street elevation projects. But the scale was wrong. The frequency was wrong.
What do you mean the frequency was wrong?
Timing was wrong.
See what I mean about them using frequency to just mean their feelings? There's no way to understand that sentence unless you take frequency to mean the vibe, his feelings.
In San Francisco alone, between 1850 and 1915, the city appears to have...
Corwin says, my question is, why do you love hating this clearly untrue set of videos? Because I am crazy myself.
...excavated and regraded itself multiple times, not minor adjustments.
Punching down. Corwin, this person has more viewers than I do. They have 133,000 views on this video. I'm punching down? These are incredibly popular channels. Maybe not incredibly popular, but certainly more popular than me. I think that's a bullshit accusation.
Entire
But you can think whatever you want. If you think I'm punching down, fine.
...neighborhoods. And here's the strangest part. Nobody seemed to think this was unusual. No protests from property owners, no public outcry about the massive expense, no detailed records of where all that earth came from or
Minute
went
left
to.
on the hype train.
Just thousands of workers, day after day, moving incomprehensible amounts of soil as if it were the most natural thing in the world. This raises a simple but critical question. If an event or series of
Benikagami says, to be fair, even if the plastic-eating bacteria wasn't a problem, with the waste it produces, there would be an effort to suppress the use of them because it would mess with the petroleum profits the same way they did with green energy. M. Scheffler with 50 bits says, I think he meant how often the street grading happened.
events had covered
I don't know about that, maybe?
substantial portions of cities worldwide in mud and debris. Where are the first-hand accounts? Where are the survivors' stories? The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across continents and decades. I started compiling reports from newspapers, municipal records, historical societies. What I found was not a conspiracy of silence, but something more subtle and more disturbing, a systematic absence of explanation. Take Chicago after the 1871 fire. The city rebuilds with astonishing speed.
Thanks for the hype
Hundreds of
train.
elaborate buildings, including structures that would take years to construct, using conventional methods appearing in less than a decade.
I don't think you get to determine how long it would take to build these structures since you have no expertise in the matter. You're just vibing it.
When you look for detailed construction records, architectural plans, worker testimonies, the documentation is sparse, inconsistent. As if someone had taken great care to record that buildings went up, but not how or who built them. Or consider the great orphan trains of America, which operated from 1854 to 1929.
Again, the orphan train thing, they act as though it's suspicious. It was basically taking a surplus of orphans from urban areas and then taking them to more rural areas where they might be adopted more readily. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was a way to get kids adopted.
The official narrative tells us that 250,000 children, possibly more, were transported from eastern cities to homes in the West and Midwest. We're told these were street children, offspring of immigrants, casualties of urban...
Points for legit old-timey clips. Yeah, I don't think it's AI, which is shocking. So many conspiracy people love AI, so... Credit for using real photos, I think?
poverty. But the deeper I went into the records, the more the numbers stopped making sense. 250,000
Those children were adopted to be labor. That's how children were used for much of history. It's fucked up.
children. That's not a social program. That's a demographic.
That's a big reason people had a lot of children back then, too, especially if you ran a farm, because it would basically be free labor.
Set. And that's where the asylum records become impossible to ignore. Between 1840 and 1880, something extraordinary happened in the United States alone. The construction of hundreds of massive psychiatric institutions. These weren't small facilities. They were palatial structures, many built in that same ornate style we see in old world fairs and grand civic
I don't think you would call it very palatial if you had to live in one.
buildings. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the Athens Lunatic Asylum, the Buffalo State Asylum, the Oregon State Hospital, on and on. The official explanation is that this was a progressive movement, a reform effort to treat the mentally ill humanely. That explanation collapses here. The speed of construction, the architectural sophistication, the sheer number of beds, all of this happened during a period when we're told America was just emerging from frontier status. But
again, do you think that this hospital isn't on the frontier? Does he think that, like, the life for people on the east coast of the U.S. during that time period, they lived the same as people on the frontier? Because they had very different lifestyles. Being a homesteader and living in a community in the West somewhere was much rougher living, and you had fewer amenities and access to materials because you were further away from established civilization. So yeah, people on the East Coast where they had more resources and supply lines and stuff had much bigger and more ornate buildings because they could.
What really troubles me, who filled these asylums? The records, where they exist, show thousands upon thousands of patients with strikingly similar diagnoses. Melancholia, acute mania, amnesia, confusion of thought.
Yeah, mental health care back then was, like, not mental health care. It was pretty fucked up, and we don't really recognize most of the, if any, of the diagnosis that they used back then.
Many with no recorded history prior to admission, no family records, no documented origins, just for...
Yeah, people didn't have documents of that kind of thing back then. People weren't getting regular mental health care treatment at the time.
Names, sometimes surnames, and a diagnosis that seems designed to explain away one thing: memory loss. What if these weren't treatment facilities at all? What if they were containment centers? Think about it. If a catastrophic event had disrupted civilization on a massive scale, burying cities, displacing populations, destroying infrastructure, what would the aftermath look like? You'd have survivors wandering, disoriented, traumatized. People telling stories about the world before, stories that didn't match the new narrative being constructed, stories that had to be managed, not eliminated, not through violence, but redirected, contained, medicalized. What better way to discredit a witness than to institutionalize them, to label their memories as delusions, to mix genuine survivors with patients who truly needed care, creating a system where truth and madness became indistinguishable. The records show that many asylum patients were committed for reasons that seem absurd today.
Yes, people were wrong. I'm sure someday people will look back on our mental health care system now and be appalled, at least one would hope, if things get better someday.
Political excitement.
It seems like a lot of conspiracy theorists who are into, like, alt history stuff are very confused that human populations and entire societies can just be wrong about something. That happens all the time. That's most of human history, is people being very incorrect about certain things, but still building society around those concepts.
Novel reading, religious enthusiasm, nostalgia. That last one appears again and again in intake records. Nostalgia.
Yeah, I don't think that had the same meaning back then as it does now. I have heard this before, but I don't remember. Let me look this up real quick.
An excessive longing for the past, or perhaps a longing for a past that officially never existed.
This is from a paper. Nostalgia, a psychopathological condition affecting individuals who are uprooted, whose social contacts are fragmented, who are isolated, and who feel totally frustrated and alienated, was first described in the 17th century and was a problem of considerable interest to physicians in the 18th and 19th centuries. By the 20th century, it seemed to have disappeared, but reappeared under other labels. So yeah, they were not using nostalgia necessarily in the same way that we use it today. Language changes.
If you're finding this investigation compelling, consider following this channel for more deep dives into architectural mysteries and lost history. But the adults could be contained, could be managed through institutions and social pressure. The children posed a different problem. Children talk, children remember, children ask questions their parents can't or won't answer. And so we have the orphan trains. 250,000 children removed from urban centres and dispersed across rural America, where they would grow up disconnected from their origins, integrated into families with no knowledge of their past, their memories written off as childish fantasy. The official
I like how much of this is just him pulling stuff out of his butt.
Records are maddeningly vague about where these children came from. Street children, homeless waifs, foundlings. But foundlings don't appear in groups of dozens or hundreds. And yet that's exactly what we see.
They were people from, like, orphanages.
Roundups of children.
You never see orphans all gathered together in one building, except for all the times you do.
Processed through institutions like the New York Foundling Hospital.
Like the Bat Cave.
Or the Children's Aid Society. Then shipped west with minimal documentation about their families or origins.
Again, they're very obsessed with the documentation thing. Having as much documentation as we do today is a result of, like, the modern world. They didn't have as much documentation back then for things. People weren't necessarily regularly going to the doctor. They didn't have a social security number. People just had less written about them in general, including official documentation. Hey, NB Vulpine, how you doing?
Some researchers have noted the striking number of children in these programs with no memory of their parents. Not orphans with stories of loss, but children who simply couldn't remember.
That's not uncommon. If they were just abandoned somewhere, why would they remember their parents? Or if their parents, I don't know, went to prison or disappeared somewhere when they were very young? Like, you can be left alone and not remember your parents, and it isn't a conspiracy. It's sad, but it's not a conspiracy.
As if they'd experienced something so traumatic that entire portions of their childhood
That's an incredible stretch.
Been wiped away.
To read that many of them didn't even remember their parents to say, oh, they had amnesia. That's not what it says.
What happens to a society's memory when you remove 250,000 of its youngest witnesses? Now expand this outward, because the pattern isn't limited to America. The deeper I looked, the more I found similar programs operating simultaneously across the world.
Yeah, they had similar problems in urban areas of having a ton of orphans that couldn't get adopted.
Australia's child migration schemes, Canada's home children program, the British child emigration programs, Argentina's orphanages, Russia's foundling hospitals, all operating in the same rough time frame, 1850s through early 1900s, all moving children on a massive scale, all with documentation that seems simultaneously comprehensive and hollow. We have numbers, dates, names, but almost no stories. No voices, no memories preserved. This raises...
They didn't have Facebook. Where do you expect them to write it? I don't even know how many of these kids went on to be literate.
A simple but critical question that I keep returning to. How do you coordinate something like this globally? In an era before rapid communication, before international organizations, before the infrastructure we associate with global cooperation, how do dozens of nations simultaneously implement...
Oh, is it MB Vulpine's birthday? Happy birthday!
...nearly identical programs for managing displaced populations? Not why they would, Not when they decided. Not under which authority. No. How? How is such coordination possible without leaving a paper trail that makes the coordination explicit? Unless it was...
I mean, why would those documents last that many years? I'm sure there was official communication because they had to set all of this up. But why would you expect that that paper documentation from hundreds of years ago would remain until today? Most paperwork, most writings throughout history have been lost because that's the nature of time. Even in more recent history with stuff like film, like most silent films have disappeared forever, and then we're just never going to get them back. Like, not every piece of film or document gets, like, preserved. Most of them don't.
Wasn't coordination at all, unless they were all responding to the same event. I mentioned earlier that this investigation started with buildings. Now we come back to them, because the architecture tells its own story about forgetting. Walk through any major city built before 1920, and you'll find structures that seem impossible for their claimed construction dates. Courthouses, train stations, libraries, exhibition halls.
Vibes-based conspiracy for him just feeling out, I think that building isn't that old.
All built with a level of craftsmanship and architectural sophistication that supposedly belonged to civilizations we're told were primitive or non-existent just decades earlier. The evidence suggests something much larger. These buildings may not have been constructed during the periods claimed. They may have been excavated, repurposed, or simply relabeled. But to accept that possibility means accepting that an entire civilization's worth of infrastructure already existed, infrastructure that had to be explained away, or better yet, incorporated into a new narrative where it always belonged to us. But the buildings needed keepers, people to staff them, to operate them, to maintain them. And that's where we see another curious pattern. The rise of professional credentials.
Are they saying they just dug up these buildings? Yes, they believe that there was something called a global mud flood that buried all of this ancient civilization, Tartaria's, technology and buildings, and that people around the 1800s started digging it out and just occupied it and then brainwashed everyone into believing we built it. It's nuts. And it's entirely because they have an aesthetic appreciation for buildings in the style of, like, neoclassical or, like, Baroque or whatever style, more ornate styles than today. And they think that that makes them more technologically advanced than, let's say, a skyscraper. Because they like the aesthetic of it. They think it's more complicated, and therefore we can't make it today. Because we don't often make buildings in that style these days. They think we can't, which is objectively untrue, because sometimes they do still build buildings with those aesthetics. There are people whose job it is to maintain and restore structures like that that are historical. I've seen YouTube channels where someone shows them carving out all the ornate stuff on a building. So, yeah, they basically, just don't like how modern buildings look, so they created a conspiracy.
And certification in the late 1800s. Suddenly, you needed
doesn't understand architecture on the bingo card.
Specific training to be an architect, a doctor, an engineer. Old knowledge, knowledge that might have been passed down through experience or apprenticeship, was systematized, formalized, controlled. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The simultaneous erasure of one knowledge system and the implementation of another.
Can we shoehorn Nephilim into this conspiracy somehow? Many of them do. Many of them do. They think that giants were part of the old civilization and that they're the children of the Nephilim. So you're not far off.
Not through force, but through bureaucracy, through credentials, through the quiet insistence that the old ways were primitive, unscientific, dangerous. And who couldn't get credentials? The elderly, the traumatized, the asylum patients, the children scattered across rural areas, the witnesses. By the 1920s and 1930s, something shifts in the historical record. The gaps begin to close. Documentation becomes more consistent, photographs more abundant, personal testimonies more aligned with official narratives. It's as if the world suddenly snapped into focus.
It's more recent, and there was more documentation, and photography became more widely available.
The timeline.
That's not a conspiracy. That's just time. We're closer to that time period. As time goes on and we get further away from the 1930s, many of those things will probably be lost. A lot of it's been digitized these days, so hopefully that'll help. But, even digital files, can get lost. They can get deleted. Shit happens. Computers that they're saved on can break.
We recognize. But here's what haunts me. That final generation that might have remembered. The people born in the 1850s and 1860s who would have been adults during the alleged mud flood era, who might have told their grandchildren about the world before, they die off in massive numbers during World War I and the Spanish flu pandemic. Another demographic disruption. Another break in the chain of memory. I'm not suggesting these events were manufactured, but the timing. The thoroughness with which they removed the last witnesses who could have contradicted the established narrative.
Again, you're the one stating that that's what's going on. This is all an internal narrative that you have crafted based on zero evidence. You're acting as though this is some sound hypothesis that you have firmly evidenced when it has mostly been you opining about details you made up.
The convenient way they appeared just as the first generation born into the new order was coming of age. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision. So, where did they all go? The mud flood survivors, if they existed, the witnesses to whatever event or transition occurred, where are their voices? Some, I believe, ended up in asylums, their memories pathologized out of existence. Others scattered on orphan trains, their childhoods erased, their questions unanswered. Some probably integrated quietly, choosing silence over the social cost of being labelled mad or backward. Some died in the epidemics and wars that conveniently swept through just when their testimonies would have been most valuable.
Yeah, World War I and II, very convenient.
But mostly they went where
probably not how I would describe them.
All inconvenient witnesses go, into silence. Not through any single dramatic act of suppression, but through 1,000 quiet pressures. Social pressure to conform, economic pressure to accept the new systems, medical pressure to doubt their own memories, educational pressure to abandon old knowledge in favour of new credentials. The evidence suggests something much larger than a simple cover-up. It suggests a wholesale reorganisation of civilization, so thorough and so well executed that within 2 generations the previous world had become myth. The survivors became patients, foundlings, scattered individuals with no collective voice. Their children became the first generation of the new order, born into a world where the past was whatever the textbooks said it was. I started this investigation.
These people really don't trust education.
Looking for people. I found absences, gaps where voices should be, records that document everything except what matters, photographs that show the excavation but not the explanation, buildings that appear fully formed with no construction timeline, children arriving in trainloads with no origin story. The official history tells us that the late 1800s and early 1900s were a period of unprecedented progress.
One who reads, thanks for 14 months of subscription, says sub to Hannah, gift a sub to an indigent comrade.
Realization and expansion. And maybe that's true. Maybe all those ornate buildings really were constructed in a few years by horse and buggy civilizations. Maybe 250,000 children really were all street urchins. Maybe the asylum boom really was just progressive reform. Maybe every major city really did need to excavate itself for routine grading projects. Maybe.
Stick with that maybe. Perfect.
But the questions persist. They accumulate. They form patterns that can't be explained away by coincidence.
Okay, there's the paranoia.
Or natural social evolution. Something happened. Something significant enough to require a global reset. Significant enough that witnesses needed to be removed, memories needed to be erased, and a new official history needed to be written. What happened to the mud flood survivors? Perhaps the better question is, what would it take to make an entire civilization forget? What combination of institutionalization, relocation, credential systems, social pressure, and generational turnover? Would you need to replace one version of history with another in just 50 years? Not much, it turns out. Just asylums for those who remembered too clearly. Orphan trains for those who might someday remember. Wars and pandemics to remove the final witnesses. And time. Time for the last person who knew the truth to die in an asylum somewhere. Their memories filed under delusions of grandeur or...
I think this guy is overestimating the ability of any group of people to do a plan perfectly. You know what I mean? This is such a large operation on a global scale that would literally be impossible to get everyone. You just wouldn't be able to do it. People make mistakes. There's too many pieces. There's too many moving pieces in this conspiracy for it to work.
Or nostalgia for a place that never existed. I don't have answers, only questions that multiply the deeper I go. Only patterns that repeat with unsettling precision. Only absences where presence should be obvious. Only silence where there should be voices. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And now, neither can you.
Well, there's another one. I think we'll do another short Bashar video. It's only like 6 minutes, and then we'll probably call it a night.
All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time.
Phoebe says, it's strange to me that with so many conspiracies about the Mason, this one seems to be they suck at their job of stonemasonry. Oh, they believe that they're called Freemasons because they found the masonry for free, buried under the mud. Let that sink in. They think they're called Freemasons because they found the masonry for free. That's how they justify that. Not a joke.
Welcome to the first transmission of your new year of 2026, the year of disclosure. Now, of course, when we talk about the idea of this being your year of disclosure, we are talking about more information coming out about ETs, us, UFOs, our ships, UAPs, whatever you wish to call them. But not only are we talking about the idea of the release of more information regarding extraterrestrial life in connection to your world, we are also talking about disclosure of bringing to the surface anything that has been hidden, anything that has been kept secret that would have dire consequences were to be released.
Hello, Bashar and Company. I was wondering, there are people like me who believe in ETs, but see them...
Wasn't last year the year of disclosure, too? Every year is the year of disclosure until there's actual disclosure. They gotta get it right eventually, right?
As, good, positive, and beneficial. Then there are those who also believe in ETs, but see them as bad, negative, or destructive. I was wondering what makes one person believe and see them as good, and others who believe and see them as bad. Is it more beneficial to have both views when it comes to having first or open contact due to the duality aspect of physical reality, or will there be a separation of some sort? Thanks, and have a great day.
First of all, we will answer this in what you might consider to be a more practical way. It's not that negatively oriented extraterrestrials don't exist. They do, but not as many as you may think or afraid that there are. So the idea is to understand what's going on.
He does such interesting body language things when he's pretending to be the alien. He's worked on this for decades. You think he looks in the mirror and like trains himself to do weird kind of stilted motions to make him look like an alien?
Majority, 99%.
The Freemason wordplay works in English, but not in French and probably not many other languages. I hadn't even considered that. That makes total sense. Of course it wouldn't.
Of extraterrestrials interacting with your planet because they can interact with your planet in the way that they do are positively oriented. There may be those that may not necessarily be completely negatively oriented, but may, in a sense, not necessarily have your best interests at heart or be very concerned with the things that are important to humanity. That can be perceived as cold or negatively, but it's not that they're necessarily malicious. Then there is a very small fraction of extraterrestrials that do exist in the cosmos that may not necessarily have your best interests at heart at all, or even know about you, that may be negatively oriented. But that's an extremely small percentage of extraterrestrials, and there is nothing you need to worry about, because those that are engaged with your planet are 99% positive and keeping the small percentage of them that are not positive away from you anyway. So you don't even have to necessarily deal with them. The only exception that may exist to some degree is that you do have now and then some interaction with an extraterrestrial species you call the reptilians.
Ah, reptilians on the bingo!
Not all of them, in that sense, again, are negative. A lot of it has to do with humanity's own fear-based beliefs that come to the surface when exposed to a different frequency of a being from a different reality. You go into survival mode, fight or flight mode, and that can make it seem as if the extraterrestrial might be operating on a negative vibration, but it might be your own fear-based energies that you're feeling.
In French, it's called franc maçonnerie, and the only way to misunderstand it as honest masonry, I guess they aren't going to use that one. Probably not.
And actually have nothing at all to do with the extraterrestrials' intentions. So you have to be able to have the discernment to tell the difference between your own negative vibrations and fear-based beliefs and what is actually coming from an extraterrestrial. But the idea of the reptilians is that, yes, there are a few of them that don't necessarily enjoy interacting with humans and don't
one bad reptile spoils the bunch.
Necessarily have your best interests at heart. But again, even within the reptilian extraterrestrial population, they are few and far between. They do have a little bit more of an aggressive energy to them. But again, because you react that way to them, that can magnify and amplify the negative side of their society, even though most of their population may not necessarily have a negative intention toward you. But because of their nature being a reptilian sort and you're being a mammalian sort, a mammal facing a reptile sometimes will go into fight or flight mode, because the first automatic assumption you make unconsciously is that the reptile wants to consume you as a mammal. So you're reacting.
Some people are into that.
Acting on a very primitive level to their vibrational energy as well.
Jake Thoney says, good job. Thank you.
Which is partly one of the reasons why a lot of reptilians don't necessarily appreciate humanity, because they take a little bit of an offense toward the mammalian response you have to their presence by being afraid of them just because they're reptilian. So it's a mixed bag. There's a lot of different levels to this idea. It's not so cut and dried and black and white, but in general, practically speaking, the vast majority, 99% of the extraterrestrial species you're dealing with on Earth at this time are positive, and they are keeping those that may be negatively oriented away from you, except, again, for a very few exceptions of reptilian beings that may be working with certain people on your planet for certain technological reasons.
Enlightening, Bashar. Thank you for your insane wisdom. All right, so that's all for today. We got between the first part and this part, we got about 3 hours. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I won't be around tomorrow because I work all day. I'm less clear on Wednesday. Our online schedule has been down for like 2 weeks, so I haven't been able to check it. So I definitely work tomorrow, might work Wednesday, but then I should be free for the rest of the week and we should be streaming all those days. So I look forward to that, and seeing you more later in the week. We'll cover a bunch of stuff. And if you haven't already, consider following if you're just checking out the stream. We stream all the time, do fun stuff, watch interesting online groups of people. It's a lot of fun. So, we'll raid Cassifal.
You do that, Sheldon.
All right, have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Have a good Tuesday and maybe Wednesday without me. I got the Flintstones theme song stuck in my head. Don't know why. Bye, everyone!